Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to England once again and we're going to have a look at another of the beers that was very kindly given to me by my good friend Adam over at Mersey Beers. A huge thank you to him for making this review possible. Do make sure you go over to his channel and show it some love. He's just kind of getting it up and running actually. He was wanting to start it quite a while ago but he's finally managed to get his internet upgraded. His channel is mainly going to focus on different beer themed live streams and I think it's going to be really fun to take part in those actually, so I really look forward to seeing what his channel develops into. And he's a very nice guy, you know, he sent me a hell of a lot of English beer to review over here, so huge thank you to him. And as I say, please do go and show him some love and check out his channel. So yeah, for this review then we are going to return to a brewery that have featured on the channel once before. I really enjoyed the last beer that I had from these guys. These guys are a sort of German style brewery mainly, and for this one we're going to have a look at their flagship beer, and this is one that I've heard very good things from lots of different English beer tubers. And it is a style that I have been really into for quite a long time actually. So for this review then we are going to go to Hartlepool in the northeast of England and we're having a look at another beer from Donzoko Brewing Company. So this one is their flagship beer. It's called the Northern Helles. It comes in at 4.2% ABV and as the name tells you, this one is going to be a German style Helles lager beer. So the last beer that I had from Donzoko must have been back in 2018 or so. That was one of their Doppelbox, and that was really very nicely done actually. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. My friend Peter, the Clueless Drinker, he tells me that he really likes this beer. He, like me, lived in Germany for a good period of time and really kind of fell in love with the different German beers. So yeah, if he says this is a good beer, I'm very much inclined to believe him on this one. So yeah, very happy to be able to finally review this one here for you on the channel, and I really hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. Hopefully I can try a few of the other German style beers that these guys do as well over the next little while. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Donzoko Brewing before. Hopefully I can add some more to that list in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, but quite regularly over the next few months thanks to Adam. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Donzoko Brewing Company. So Donzoko Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Hartlepool in the northeast of England. The company is headed by Rhys Hugill, and he started homebrewing back in 2014. So he studied chemistry at Newcastle University, and then later he went on exchange to the Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich, and it was during his time in Germany that he really developed a taste and a love for the German beer styles. He was actually due to go on and study his master's degree, but he decided that just wasn't for him and that he wanted to do something else, and this kind of came as he was really getting some success with his homebrewing. So he decided to found his own company and did so with the help of savings, some grants from Newcastle University, and also a bit of help from Hartlepool Council as well, and he got his brewery up and running originally in 2017. So these guys were originally brewing the wort and boiling up the wort and stuff like that at a different brewery, then transporting it in bags back to their own facility and letting the beer ferment there, which is quite an unusual way of doing it. But over the last few years they have kind of been focusing on building up their own operations in Hartlepool. And apparently over this year, 2020, they were planning to hire some staff for the brewery in Hartlepool, and also to get another brew kit in and actually kind of scale it up a little bit. But what they've really been doing over the last while is been kind of doing more things with doing a few contract brews and stuff like that. So this beer, the Northern Helles, has actually been quite extensively contract brewed at the Gypsy Hill Brewery down in London, and that's really helped them get their name out there a little bit more, and I think it has helped them a lot in financing the new infrastructure and stuff that they'll need for their brewery in Hartlepool going forward. So that's pretty cool actually, and from what the article that I read that Reese had been interviewed in, he was saying that he was really impressed with the level of quality control and things at Gypsy Hill Brewery. So yeah, that's pretty cool actually. As I say, this beer is fairly well distributed throughout England these days. I think you can get it pretty much in any kind of good beer shop from what I gather. It's really quite widely produced. It's, you know, produced at quite a high volume, I guess I should say. But yeah, as of September 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 35 different beers according to Untappd. When I first encountered this brewery, it was pretty much completely German style as a beer. There was a Schwarz beer, I think, a few Weizens, there was this one, the lager beer, and there was a few of the Doppelbocks that were released as kind of special beers. But these days they've actually got a few New England IPAs, a few pale ales, there's a black IPA in there, and there's various other different styles actually as well. So they have been kind of expanding their portfolio quite a bit over the last little while. So yeah, it's really cool to see that these guys have gone from strength to strength since I first encountered them back in 2018 or so. And yeah, I'm really glad that I'm finally able to try their flagship beer, because I've heard so many people telling me that this is a really, really nice example of the German lagers. These guys, to a degree, they remind me of the West Brewery in Glasgow, who also do some really, really nice German style beers actually. If you do find yourself in Glasgow, I highly recommend that you go and check out West on the Green actually. That's a really nice German style restaurant, and you'll get all of their German beers in there. I do wonder if they've had Donzoko on tap. I've got a feeling that I might have seen that on tap when I was in West Brewery actually. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Donzoko Brewing for the moment. Hopefully I can review a few more of those beers for you at some point in the fairly near future. They don't distribute outside of England, well, outside of England and Scotland and Wales and stuff like that, as far as I can gather. But yeah, hopefully we start to see their beers being put out abroad at some point soon. It's quite cool. Apparently the German styles of beer are really gathering some popularity in England, and there's more and more breweries having a go at these sort of things. So long may that continue actually. I do hope that when I go back to Scotland at Christmas, I can get a few more of these actually. So yeah, as I say, that's all I can really tell you about Donzoko Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then and just see how we get on. I'm very, very curious to see what this has in store for us. So yeah, this one, as you can see, it's got one of these lovely silver cans that the camera just hates and gets frustrated by because it reflects all the light. But the artwork on this one, I have to say, is really, really nice actually. So you can see that this beer, the Donzoko text on this one is the same. It's the same as it was. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've changed that. But yeah, the artwork on this can, I think, is really quite slick and really quite modern. There you can see on the side of the can there is the Donzoko D. And yeah, this one is unfiltered, 4.2% ABV. I think this is a bit lower than the likes of, you know, Spatenbräu and Hofbräu and all of these kind of things. So yeah, that's an interesting point to make about this one. But yeah, this should be quite cool. It says on the side here, Northern Helles is our flagship lager. We use classic German malt and ferment cold with a Swiss lager yeast strain for a clean malt backbone and notes of sweet crusty bread. Our unique house acid culture is added in the brewhouse to control the pH level of the beer and to achieve a crisp, refreshing finish after fermentation. We top it all off by moderately hopping with New Zealand hops for hints of floral fruit, complementing the crispness perfectly. Northern Helles is hazy, served unfiltered, and perfect for cracking open with friends. Donzoko Brewing Company in the northeast of England. So yeah, pretty cool actually. I do notice that this one, it actually has Danish on the side of it there, Vand Bygmad Humle, yeah. So yeah, it actually has Danish. Maybe they are exporting over to Denmark these days actually. That's quite interesting. So yeah, looks pretty cool. There you can see. Quite funny to find Danish on that. But yeah, this particular beer was brewed at this particular one was brewed at the Gypsy Hill Brewery in London. So yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, lovely looking can this one, I have to say. Let's get it out and we will have a go at this beer then. Very, very curious about this one, like I said. Oh, it's gone a little bit crazy. We'll just let it calm down. Must have just been the post that's done that. Either that or it's been sitting in the can just a little bit too long. There we go. Should hopefully be okay. We only lost like a tiny, tiny little bit of it there. But yeah, let's get this guy out and into the glass then. Really curious to see what this has in store for us. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's about 2/3 of that in the glass for the moment. That'll be alright to do the aroma and that'll definitely be alright to do the aroma and the appearance of the beer then. So yeah, as you can see and as you would expect from a Helles lager, this one's poured a lovely kind of bright golden straw colour. You can see that there's a solid 1/3 finger of a frothy, I would say, kind of perfect white head on that one. That's going to fade away very quickly to be quite a thin foamy layer. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but overall it does actually look very, very nice. So yeah, I have to say, in terms of a lager beer, Helles lager, this is exactly what you expect. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there is a good degree of transparency to this one, but it does have a little bit of that lovely natural haze that you expect of these Helles style lager beers. Of course, there are 2 different types of Helles, the Dortmunder Helles and the Munich Helles. I always found the Munich one slightly more kind of smooth and bready, if you like, compared to the Dortmunder, which I always thought was a little bit more kind of bitter and hoppy, if you like. But yeah, both very nice styles of beer in my experience. But yeah, this one certainly looks the part. So let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how we got on. Nothing overly surprising or particularly surprising about this beer, I should say, considering what style it is. So yeah, let's have a look at that aroma then and see how we go. Ooh, yeah, this smells pretty damn authentic. And this, of course, is what we look for with these lager styles of beers. You want them to be really authentic. You want them to be tasting like the ones you'll get in the Brauhouses in Germany. And this one, just going from the aroma, I think this is going to be pretty damn good actually. So yeah, straight away with this one you can smell that lovely German malt base in there. Straight away you get that lovely kind of white bready quality that just blankets the nose, you know, it just goes right across it. It's got a little bit of graininess to it as well. It does have a wee bit of that kind of bread crusty note. One thing I really do miss about my time in Heidelberg was eating the pretzels and the German bread. German bread was beautiful. They've got some of the best bakers in the world in Germany, in my opinion. The German bread, I think, I can't think I've come across bread better than Germany so far. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of this beer is just absolutely lovely. So yeah, lovely white bready notes coming out of this one. You can smell the Pilsner malt coming out of this. There is definitely a bit of that Pilsner malt coming out of this beer because you really get that big crisp, that really big distinctive crispness that you'll get from Pilsner malt. It's one of the, I've always said this on reviews with these lager beers, Pilsner malt is the most annoying thing to try and describe, but it's very distinctive just for the kind of, you just get this really crisp vibe out of it, and I really like how this, how it goes together actually. It's a beautiful, beautiful, one of Germany's best inventions in my opinion, I would say. But yeah, you do get that. This beer though, it really does lean towards the kind of smoother side of things. The Pilsner malt, I think, is just a little bit of a subtlety. But yeah, other than that kind of smooth bready backbone and the bread crustiness there, you get some lovely biscuity notes out of this one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of Carapils in here. Or maybe Cara Munich or something like that. Probably more likely to be Cara Munich going from the aromas actually. But yeah, you get a lovely bit of that. There is a properly sweet caramel to this one, but you also get a good bit of that kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing coming out of this beer, which is what you expect. I would say that overall, compared to the other Helles beers that I've had, this one is one of the more kind of biscuity and sweeter leaning ones actually. I would say that about this. And it does have an element of Pilsner type crispness to it as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah, the malt base that you get out of this one comes across as very, very authentic. Doesn't do anything surprising, like I said, but it's just got a really lovely authenticity to it. So thumbs up to Donzoko for getting the malty side of this beer right. It's a very hard thing to do. Lager beers are, you know, they're quite technical to brew, for sure. So to get these right kind of shows you've got good skill as a brewer actually. But yeah, the aroma out of this one is absolutely lovely. In terms of the hoppy side of things then, it is kind of what you'd expect. You do get a bit of that lovely light German noble earthiness out of this one. You've got some nice smooth but also quite bright floral qualities to the beer, and you've got some lovely lighter grassiness in there as well. I think the slightly more, the brightness of the floral qualities might be down a bit to the New Zealand hops. It might be due to those being in this beer. And you know, that is actually quite common in Germany. I remember Kulturbrauerei in Heidelberg, the brewer master there told me that they used to use New Zealand hops in their beers. And you know, they were brewing things like Helles, they brewed a German red, various other things. But yeah, it is actually quite common over there, from what I gather, to use American hops and New Zealand hops in the beer, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of this on the hoppy side of things is also very nice. There's a good little bit of that kind of grassy, lemony, zesty sort of thing coming out of it the more that you smell of the beer. There's a few kind of peary and appley esters in there. Bit of gooseberry maybe as well. But yeah, it's very much, this is very, very much what you'd expect from a German style Helles beer, this one. So in terms of authenticity, which is what we want from these beer styles, this one I think is going to be pretty impressive actually. So take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get stuck into it. I think this one is going to be really nice actually. So let's have a taste of this beer then and just see how we go on. This one is the Northern Helles from Donzoko Brewing Company in Hartlepool in the northeast of England. Massive thank you to Adam at Mersey Beers once again for making this review possible, and here we go. Looking forward to this. Slàinte, skål. Oh yeah. That is nicely done, I have to say. Let's get the rest of it in. This one, oh, just cracked my shoulder there. There we go. Oh, that was unexpected. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, this beer is really nice. It's so easy to drink. And I will say, very, very authentic as well. I'm just going to say straight away, thumbs up to Donzoko for this one. This is really, really solid stuff actually. It does have a slightly different feel to it, I think, a slightly different mouth feel to the German ones that I'm used to. It's just maybe just the water and stuff like that, who knows. But the way that the mouthfeel comes across in this one is slightly different. It's slightly wetter almost in its mouthfeel than some of the other German beers that I've come across actually. But it's still it's beautifully done, I have to say. Very, very nicely done beer. So yeah, where to start with this one then? It's got everything you'd expect of the of this style of beer actually. It's really, really nicely done. So straight away with this beer then you get that lovely kind of white bready base just blanketing the middle of your tongue. The white bready base is nowhere near as kind of thick actually as you might think it would be from the aroma. It's actually a lot more kind of reserved almost. I would definitely say that about it. Yeah, a lot more reserved than I was thinking it was going to be. I thought this would actually turn out to be quite a bready but also quite biscuity lager, but yeah, it's actually quite wet and quite crisp in its mouthfeel, but we'll come to that later. So yeah, with this beer you get that lovely kind of white bready base to the beer. You get some nice kind of pilsnery type crispness in there as well. I think there's a tiny little touch of pilsner malt in this one, but I don't think it's nowhere near as prominent in the flavour as it actually was in the aroma in my opinion. But yeah, you get that lovely white bready base. It comes across as quite grainy actually. If you go towards the back third of your palate, you can feel there is a bit of a slightly thicker bready malt to this one. It does kind of, you do get a little bit more thickness out of it. You get a nice little bit of that, how do you say, you do, as you move kind of further forward into the middle of the palate, you can feel the breadiness gets even more light and crisp actually, and then just kind of sitting on top of that in the middle of your palate, you've got this kind of oily sort of circle if you like. And if you go to the very centre of that, that's where you get the nice kind of sweet caramel, and as you gradually move further and further out from that, the beer starts to get a little bit more kind of biscuity. It starts to get more biscuity, it starts to get more caramelly as well. You say a bit more, not caramelly, it gets a bit more kind of grainy almost as well. And yeah, so centre of the palate, more sweet and caramelly. As you move further out into that middle third of your palate from the very centre, that's when you get these more kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit sort of things, and you can feel the breadiness just underneath getting gradually more crisp and a little bit more grainy the further you go into the aftertaste with this beer. But I will say this is really nicely done, very, very authentic lager actually. I can see why this beer has gotten quite as popular as it has, and I can definitely see why Peter clueless drinker like this. I mean, this is quite a nice one. I wish this was available over here actually in Sweden. I mean, that would be pretty cool, because it is very authentic. But we've got a very good selection of, like, you know, Pilsner beers and stuff over here at the moment. There's quite a few of the breweries here in Skåne are doing some really nice lager beers actually. So yeah. So this one is definitely on par with those actually. I really like this. So yeah, we've covered the malt base. I think there's not too much more to say about the malt base. If you go to the front corners of the palate and just move diagonally back, you might get to you might get a few kind of slightly woody undertones to it. But yeah, it's very, as I say, really kind of bready, actually quite crisp in some of its bready qualities, a bit more grainy as the flavour progresses, a bit thicker on the back third of your tongue, and as you go further forward from that, you've got a sweet caramel there, a little bit of a kind of biscuity note, and you've also got some really nice, you've also got one or two little tiny woody undertones underneath in this beer in my mind. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of, you do have a nice little touch of earthiness to this one. I think it's a kind of German noble earthiness. But as you move further forward on the palate there, you can feel that kind of floral quality just develops out of this one, and you can feel a little bit of the New Zealand influence coming through there. You do get a little bit of that brighter kind of nice floral quality coming out of the beer. So it's almost got a teeny touch of spicy note to it, but then yeah, around the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind. And then on that front third of the palate, that's where you get that nice kind of oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters kind of push their way out of the beer. And again, it's pretty straight shooting on this one. This beer, I will say, it doesn't really do anything surprising when it comes to the style, but you don't want it to. You want it to be authentic and German, and it does that very well. So that's why I like this one, I have to say. So yeah, with this beer then, we've got a really nice, on the fruity side of things, there is a little bit of a kind of peary, appley ester coming out of this one. If you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, it does have a wee bit of an almost stronger, slightly citrusy note, but then as you move further forward, it gradually develops into a more kind of peary-like flavour. There's a wee bit of apple in there, and you do get one or two little gooseberry notes out of it, but as you reach the very kind of front edge of the tongue, it's got a bit of that kind of lemon-limey note coming out of it as well. It's got a wee bit of citrusy zest right on the front edge of the palate actually, and I really like how that how all that goes together in this one. It's really nicely it is really very, very nicely done in that sense. As I say, it's very authentic, it has the flavour profile that you would expect of this beer, and that's why I like it. I wish this was more readily available, but this is one, I don't really session beer outside of the videos these days. I've very rarely drank beer outside of the videos, to be honest, unless I'm, you know, filming something or come across a brewery or whatever, meeting up with another beer tube or something like that. So yeah, this one is one that you could easily have a good few of actually. So yeah, very good sessionable beer this one at 4.2% as well. It's not going to kind of keel you over anytime soon unless you drink about 10 of them or something. So yeah. So yeah, really nicely done. In terms of the mouthfeel then, and this is where this beer I think does differ from the German ones a little bit. For me, this beer, it is a light-bodied beer for me. It's at the top end of light-bodied right enough. The carbonation is quite smooth in this one. It's got a balance between a kind of oily mouthfeel and quite a wet mouthfeel. It is definitely one of the wetter, hellish beers that I've come across. I would say that about it. It definitely is a little bit kind of wetter and oilier. Yeah. The oiliness is a bit little in fairness. I'd say it's one of the wetter, hellish type beers that I've come across before actually. I would definitely say that about it. But in terms of hoppy bitterness and things, it's, I would say, yeah, it's about, I'd say that this one is about maybe, I'd say it's probably about 20 IBUs, it's something like that. There is a wee bit of bitterness to this beer, but I think, yeah, about 20-ish IBUs is probably where this one's kind of sitting at. As I said to you, the malt base in this one is really quite, it's got a good bit of crispness to it, you've got a good little bit of biscuity sweetness, and also a wee bit of graininess sitting there in the middle of the palate as well, which is really nice. But yeah, On the fruity side of things, it's got a little bit of citrusy note to it. There's a wee bit of juiciness in there, and yeah, it's a really nicely done beer. The flavour profile for me is very, very authentic. It's just the mouthfeel is a little bit kind of wetter and things than some of the other German Helles beers that I've come across actually. It does have a wee bit of Christmas to it as well. It does have a little touch of that Pilsner Christmas too, which is quite nice. So yeah, it almost in some ways comes across as a bit of a combination between the Munich lagers, the Munich Helles rather, and the Dortmunder Helles. It's almost like a kind of hybrid of the two actually, because it's got a bit of the more hoppy character of the Dortmunder, but it does have that little bit of breadiness underneath of the Munich Helles actually, but the graininess as well of the Dortmunder actually. Maybe it's more of a Dortmunder than a Munich Helles actually, and that's surprising considering it was Munich that Reese studied in as well. But I mean, we can sit and pick out little tiny details about this beer. The main thing to take away is that this is a very, very nicely done lager beer and very authentic in my mind. You're always going to get little nuances that are slightly different from brewery to brewery when it comes to these kind of things. But yeah, this is a really nicely done beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to do it, to drink it again. And as a fan of German style beers, this one does get my approval. And if you do like this one, I would recommend that you check out the St Mungo from West Brewery in Glasgow actually. That's a really nice German style lager beer as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Northern Helles coming in at 4.2% ABV from Donzoko, not Zondoko, Donzoko Brewing Company in Hartlepool in the northeast of England. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. A huge thank you to Adam from Mersey Beers for making this review possible. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this one. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Donzoko as well. Do let me know some other English lager beers that I should check out. I'd really love to have a go at a few more of them. I know the other English guys do have some in mind for me already, but do let me know your own opinions, and let me know some other German style beers that you might have come across as well. It doesn't have to just be a Helles lager. I love Dunkel's, Schwarzbiers, Doppelbock, Weizens, all of it. Let me know some English brewed German beers in the comments section below, because I'd love to try a few more of those, because you know, the English beer scene is getting more and more diverse with every month basically. So yeah, cool. But yeah, very cool to review this one, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys later. The Northern Helles from Donzoko Brewing Company in Hartlepool in the northeast of England. Slàinte, skål. Make sure you check out Adam over at Mersey Beers. Cheers.